Namaste. My name is Savita Enner, and this is a second video on the series of Guide to Beginner Gardener. The first one was about just talking about identifying your zone in which you're gardening, because that becomes a very important part in the success of your garden, and sunlight and water and compost and soil and all of that. And this one is about seed. This is going to be a fairly long video, just kind of you have to get comfortable, maybe just, fold your laundry while you're watching this. And a little bit about me, I'm growing in zone 6B7 in the state of Maryland, United States. We are still, it's very, very cold right now. It's only the first week of February, and it will continue to be cold for a very long time for us. But it's a time you have to start thinking about your garden, planning, and what is the things you want to grow, and the practicalities of having a garden. One of the things is if you get very motivated looking at beautiful gardens and you want to grow that kind of a garden, it's a very good dream, and it's a very joyful process, but it is a living thing. Garden is a living thing. It's kind of watching a child grow. It's like having a pet. It's having taking care of anything which is alive. So you cannot neglect it. You're kind of watchful in all the stages of its growth period, from the time it sprouts all the way until you harvest and cook or eat or give away to somebody. So it's like a long journey. Gardening is like a very involved process. It's definitely not like a hobby where I'm going to learn how to paint, and then you will paint one day, put the canvas away, and then you can pick it up after 6 months and it will be fine, right? There is absolutely nothing wrong in it, but gardening is not one of that, right? We start off with a lot of enthusiasm when we buy the plants, but then we forget that, if you do put them out in the garden or have them in the pots, they need to be at least looked one time, at least once, if not twice every day. They need to be looked and touched and felt at least once a day. At least once a day. You cannot just plant and forget about them, especially as a beginner gardener. Maybe expert gardeners can do it because they kind of have established a rhythm. But as a beginner gardener, you would want to be able to see your plants at least once a day. So that kind of know that that's a commitment you're going to have if you're starting a new garden. And the second thing is, let's actually talk about the seeds. That's what I'm planning today. And I'm also lots of this table is full of stuff today. I'm actually starting a lot of seeds today to become plants and grow them as flowers and vegetables. And so I'm going to walk you through my process. Before that, let's kind of understand whether you should start things from seeds, or is it easier to just buy plants from the garden center. If you're very new to this, there are two things I have understood gardening for 7 years now, that things like herbs, greens, like your spinach, Swiss chard, kale, parsley, cilantro, all those things, it is better to buy a packet of seed because it's much more cheaper than lettuce, all those things. It's much more cheaper to have a seed of packet than to buy plants, because one seed actually only give you a small spinach plant. That is definitely not even sufficient for one person's one salad, right? When you go and pick the greens from one salad, you at least need a good quantity, about 10 or 15 plants of spinach if you want to harvest anything to do even a simple salad for a family of 2 people, or even for 1 person. So it's not sufficient if you just if you buy plants. That's one of the reasons why it's easier to grow greens from seeds. It's easier to grow like cilantro, methi, kale, Swiss chard, all these things from seeds. Greens are easier to grow from seeds, and you should definitely try and grow them from seeds. The second thing is root vegetables like radishes and beets and carrots. One seed only gives you one bulb. So if you buy if you're buying some plants from a garden center and they have 4 plants in them, you're going to get 4 beets for $4. That's probably even, it's much more easier or cheaper probably for you to go and get organic beets from a store. So it's it is rewarding to start things from seed, but it is also economical and practical to grow these things from seeds. Root vegetables, greens, and herbs, and also some annual flowers like marigold and cosmos and all that. Easy to grow, cheaper to grow from a packet of seed. And what are the things you probably want to buy from the nursery as a beginner gardener is like pepper plants or eggplants and tomatoes, because they are a little hard to germinate sometimes. And especially if you're starting them indoors in a cooler weather. And then because you do have to wait for a long period of time before you start it in the garden. The soil temperatures have to be really warm for these summer crops to go in, right? So then you might be left with a very short window to harvest, because if you put the seed in May and then your growing season is only until October and November, which is for us, for these hot loving plants, then the seeds have to take off and then they have to, start producing. That's a long process. And so there's a very small window in which you can harvest. And that is why people start tomatoes and peppers and eggplants indoors way before they are ready to be planted outside in the garden. And if you do not want to go through all that process, buy the plants. Second thing, one tomato plant will give you lots of tomatoes, right? It makes sense. If you maintain one tomato cherry plant, you get a lot of tomatoes, probably enough for the whole family for all the way from July until, October, May, before the frost hits. Eggplant, same thing. One eggplant plant will produce plenty of eggplants. Cucumbers, one cucumber plant will produce a lot of cucumbers. So those are the things. One plant, even if you spend about $3 to $4, it still makes sense to get them because they will give you more harvest. Economically, price-wise, it makes more sense to get them. One, they're also hard to get started as a beginner gardener, so it's just too easy to buy the plant. So that's kind of my my way of looking at it. The second thing why I like to start from seed is this, that I started growing a garden a long time ago, even before I had an actual garden in planter, was because I'm from southern part of India, Karnataka, and we have this recipe which my mom makes pretty much every other week, I would say, which is a chutney from green tomato. So I loved green tomato chutney, and it was very hard to find green tomatoes 18 years ago. And then I didn't know anybody to even go ask if I can get a green tomato. I didn't have any friends. I don't have family here. So I then, after a couple of years being here, I was like, I'm just going to buy one tomato plant so I can eat green tomato chutney. So I actually went into, I think, Home Depot or Lowe's and got me a beefsteak tomato, whatever plant, and I planted it and had one garden. So I think I bought one chili plant and one tomato plant, and that's all I had for the first season of growing. And I harvested plenty of green tomatoes, and I had lots of green tomato chutney to fulfill my heart's content that year, and that's how I got started. So there are things probably you're craving which you from your hometown, home country, or even from a place you are, a variety of a thing which you cannot find. So that's also a very good motivation why you would want to start something from seed. Right now, I grow tomatoes from seed, even though it's easy to get them in the store, because here in America, I feel the tomato plants sold are more for meatier texture, like used for sandwiches and salads. But then I like my tomatoes to be acidic, which have a lot of tartness to them, so they're good in sambar and rasam, and that is very hard to find here. And so I grow my tomatoes varieties which have acidity, high acidity in them to make curries and rasam and sambar. And that's one of the reasons why I grow pretty much a lot of it, like 90% of the things I grow is from seeds right now. Okay, so that's kind of why you would want to do. Whether you want to do it with your seeds and with your plants. Okay, so that's and I told you it's going to be a lot of information. Okay, now where do you buy your seeds? That's one of the questions I get asked a lot. There's lots of reputable companies you can grow. One of the things I would avoid is Etsy and eBay kind of places, because whatever pictures you see sometimes, a lot of times they are good, but then a lot of times I've heard a lot of people getting scammed on them. So I wouldn't trust that. The best place is your library. They usually have a lot of seed exchange program. They are available for you for free. The information is abundant there. You can go and check with your library people. They periodically host seed exchange and free giveaways, plant giveaways throughout the season. Starting from February, I know my local library already had their first garden meetup with people exchanging seeds and all that. Okay, so connect with your local library, and then they will tell you where to they will give you a lot of free seeds. You don't even have to buy. People are I am more than happy to share a lot of my seeds to people because I save so many seeds. And then the second place is places like Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace, because what happens is home growers like me, we plant too much. Right now I have my peppers growing, and I have 12 pepper plants growing of the same variety, and I don't even know if I want to. Like, my idea is to have about 8 of those plants, but then if all of them survive, I will have 1 or 2 extra to give away to friends, and that's what I do. I text some people, hey, do you want a plant? And then I just give it away to them. So search up your Facebook groups is a great idea. Like, a lot of people on Facebook groups either will barter something with you for plants they're already growing, exchange of seeds, all that is always happening. Most of the time they tend to be trusty if you kind of follow those groups for a very long time. So that's another place to find economical way of buying plants and seeds. The third place, economical way of buying, one is free, ask for free stuff. If you don't, then let's start with the cheapest place to get seeds from is Dollar Tree. For $1, you can get 4 seed packets. I have grown plenty of things from them. They germinate well. All of them might not germinate, but I have grown green beans and radishes and flowers from them and have been successful. No complaints. You can buy $1 for 4 packets. You cannot really go wrong with that. The second place I really like, which is not super expensive. These are all online. I order them from online. Not super expensive, but but pretty good is MI Gardener. Let me say. So this is MI Gardener, I think. Yeah. So MI Gardener is So this is MI Gardener. They are $2 a seed packet, and they have a ton of variety, really lots of information. MI Gardeners also have a YouTube channel where they actually go through all the seeds there, all the vegetables they are growing. So they give out a lot of information in terms of their YouTube channel too. So that's a great place. You can buy the seed and also learn how to grow that in their garden. The other one I like is Baker Creek. The website is called rareseeds.com. They also have tons of variety, beautiful pictures. That's one of the things which I like about them, and most people, gardeners, like, because they have beautiful pictures. It's kind of very inspiring to grow. So they're usually between $2 to $3, even $4 sometimes, depending on how exotic the plants are. So that's another place you can buy. The other place I buy, I don't have it here, but Seeds of India. Seeds of India is local, an organic Indian seed company where the varieties like shorba tomatoes and the pepper plants I was talking about, like Agni, Mohini, which are the milder variety of peppers which I grow. Chilies I grow, I get from them. Lots of different things, you can get Karela or bitter gourd, hyacinth beans, different types of hyacinth beans, local to Indian cuisine. You can get a lot of them. So that's another, again, not super expensive, but not cheap either. And then I also like a Swallowtail company for a lot of my flowers. They have huge variety, again, not super expensive. So I do like them. It's called Swallowtail company. And the last one, there's one more called Botanical Interest. This is very popular, and then you will actually find in a lot of grocery store. If you go to Target, if you go to Ace Hardware, Whole Foods, they usually have these seed packets, Botanical Interest, and they are an excellent company. Again, not very expensive. So the one company which actually is pretty expensive, they're mainly for market gardeners, is Jhonny's. But I do buy seeds from them. I'm very guilty because there are tons of things which I like to grow as a variety these days, as in terms of there are certain types of turnip, a variety of turnip I like, and I like that company. There is a couple of flowers I like buying them, but they're super expensive because they are made for wholesalers and not for, they do sell small seed packets, but they're super expensive. The shipping is you have to shop for minimum $200, or I think the shipping is $15. I'm guilty, that's one of my indulgence. I do buy some seeds from them every year, mostly flowers and some varieties which I cannot really find anywhere. But that company, Jhonny's Seeds, has tons of information about growing all sorts of things. So just as information gathering place, that's a great place to be. And Baker Creek has lots of reviews. You can, for example, people who grow them leave a lot of reviews there. So you can see hey, I try to grow this type of echinacea in my zone and it did not sprout. So be aware, do this. Lots of people leave suggestions on that website. So that's a great source too. So these are some of the seed companies. But there are a lot. There's True Leaf. There is, I'm trying to think. Southern Exchange is a good company. I know people, they're very popular. Also, you can also pick up some seed packets from Home Depot and Lowe's, and you couldn't go wrong with them either. So that's where you can buy your seeds. Try to get it free from your neighbors or your library or one of these. Start from Home Depot to the expensive Jhonny seeds. I'm going to put all their names in the description so you guys can kind of see and look through on your own. Okay, so that's about seeds. Plants, while buying plants, as I said, this is my experience, being out, and I love, like, garden centers are the things which I love to visit. That your local garden centers will have cheaper plants than Home Depot and these big box stores. This is just my experience, because, like, I have noticed that I went to Home Depot or Lowe's, forgot where it was, like big box store, and they had like a plant, like a cabbage for $4. Even a head of cabbage, organic cabbage, is not like probably $5 in my farm stand, in my organically grown, locally grown farm stand. So I don't see the point. But then the same thing, you can go to your local nurseries for a pack of 4 seedlings. They sell it for, I don't know, $3 to $3, sometimes like $1 a plant, maybe even less than that. That makes more sense. Even tomatoes and lots of things. I would actually try to find like a local nursery in your area and try. They tend to be a little bit more cheaper than big box store, because big box store, they have to grow them somewhere, they have to pay for the shipment, they have to store it, and then they have to look beautiful when you come out. So there's a lot of like logistic involved, so they're going to put the price on you. So just make sure that you're not, kind of comparing prices. It's not that I don't buy anything from these big box store. I will still buy perennials and shrubs and trees sometimes if I wanted to. If they're like, I'm always looking for a deal and I buy them. It's not that I don't buy them. But this is my experience. Local nurseries are just more cheaper than big box store. So keep an eye on that. Okay. So that's a lot, right? That's a lot about seed information. And now let's actually start. How do I start? And what are the things you will need to start your seeds? Let's get started. Okay, let's start with some containers. What are the containers you can use for gardening? You can have one of these containers, which is pretty easy. Like, you probably bought a plant last year and then you're saving it so that you can start your seeds or plants. So this is a great one. You can also just use a Tupperware container like this, poke some holes at the bottom, and then make sure that, so that it drainage is well. The seeds like to not have too much water because they will rot, but they also like to stay moist, because that's how they germinate. They want water and humidity and warmth so that they can germinate, right? So just this also does, I have sown in some cilantro seeds in it, and I'm going to actually just close the lid until this begins to germinate. It is transparent lid, so the sunlight will come through it, and I'm sticking in my... I've done it many times before and very successful. So I'm going to continue to do that. When the seedlings becomes this large, I will, then I will take it outside and plant them, and then they will be very slow because they need a lot of sunlight. Plants need a lot of sunlight to get started, so they'll be very slow growers, and that's fine. And it's, when they are little seedlings, I will take them out in the garden and plant them, and I'll keep you updated. So that's another container you can do. Or you can do what I am doing here. This is like a seed tray at the bottom, and then there is like, these modules I have. You don't have to invest in all this. Actually, after about 10 years of gardening, this year I finally gave in and I bought this. These are from Bootstrap. They're a little bit expensive, but they're supposed to last a lifetime. I got tired of using Tupperware containers and all that, and I had to maintain them, and it was a hard thing to recycle them. So finally, I decided to invest in some quality product, and this is what I got. You need something. They have a lot of holes in them, like any plant. Starting kids seed thing you buy, they'll have a lot of holes in them. They might not look like this, they'll mix similar like this. So you need something where the water can be caught and then you don't make a mess. And also, there is holes at the bottom, so there is drainage and there is aeration happening for your roots. So those are the things, right? So what do I do? The way to start a seed is this. The seed needs light and warmth to germinate. The seeds need light and warmth to germinate. Most of the seeds, it will say on the packet that whether they like to this. Some of them will say surface sowing. That means it has to get direct sunlight, and then some of them will say barely cover with 1/4, 1/8 of an inch of soil or whatever. The packets usually say, or Google them, and then you will come to know. Today, right now, I am putting in some flowers, and I'm going to walk you through how I do it. First things first, you should never forget what to do is to label your things. I just like, again, all my things are usually very whatever is handy. I don't have any fancy label. This is just like painter's tape I have. And I use this, I'm going to write the name. This is Powwow Wild Berry Echinacea. So I'm going to write Powwow Echinacea. In my idea, the pen usually works. They don't erase with while you water. So I take a piece of it. Oop. And then let's say this is where I am going on this. I will just label it like this and then do it. First, I'm going to label all because I'm starting quite a bit of seeds, flower seeds. So I'm going to write all the labels first, and then I will show you how I usually get started on the journey of growing these flowers. The flowers I'm starting today are called perennial flowers. That means they will come back again. One of the great things to do while kind of understanding that why I like to grow, why I like to grow flowers, these kind of perennial flowers from seed, is that they get so expensive if you are to buy them at the store. I remember seeing a couple of years ago when I wanted to buy some, perennials. If you go to Home Depot or Lowe's, they'll have like a big plant. It will be probably 1 year old plant. So they have taken it care for 1 year, but they will be anywhere between $10 to $15, even $20. And this packet of seed was $3. So I can actually get, I'm going to put 2 seeds in each of the cell trays. And that means I'm going to get about 6 plants for whatever dollars. But then I do have to spend my time and energy in maintaining them, but it's worth my time and it is worth my efforts to do that, because I do want to fill up quite a bit of space in my garden. And so I have ordered a lot of seeds. I will go, I'll walk you through how I'm doing it as I go along. Okay, so this is ready. What I'm going to do is, I have labeled it. I don't know if you can see. Yeah, I have labeled it. So I'm going to take one at a time, because it's very, very important to label. Even if you're just growing 1 or 2 varieties, because you think you will remember the name, you will not remember the name when you finish. So the first one is yellow columbine. Columbines are, again, a perennial in our area. And but the problem with them is the deers do like them, so they eat. So I have to plant it in a place where the deers don't get to them, probably inside the fence. Sometimes they come in a Ziploc like that. So in plants, do not cover. It says sow in cell packs or flats, press into soil, do not cover, needs light to germinate, keep it at 65 to 70 degree Fahrenheit. Seedlings will emerge in 21 to 28 days. So it's a long time. Even for the seedlings to emerge, it's going to take about a month's time. In my opinion, they are usually it's more like 18 to 21 days than 28 days. But then, they just want to make sure you can. They also say that you can directly sow. Let's see how many seeds we have. We have about 15 seeds probably. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 2 seeds for every cell pack. Okay, I have some extra, so I'm just going to put it there. It says just press and not put the soil, because they apparently need sunlight to germinate. How do you water them? If you were to take the water and pour it on top, they will actually, seeds get moved and get buried. The easiest way, because that's why you want things which have holes in them. So when you water them, they have a place to absorb the water from bottom. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pour water. This was just for demonstration. I'm going to actually plant all of them and then pour enough waters and then allow it. After about an hour or so, this will get completely saturated, and you will see that the soil has absorbed, and you really cannot see dry soil on the top. So that's another one. The other one is to just moisten the soil before and then put it. Both the things work. And so we don't have any more seeds on this, but I still like to keep the packet. Because sometimes you want to read information. I have this Dollar Tree thing, I think an organizer. I usually put all my seed packets in there, which I'm growing right now, so that I can reach out to them and look. If they're not germinating, then I can go and look and why is it not germinating? Okay, the second is penstemon. So we did, you know what, I'll forget if I'm talking to you guys and doing it, so I'm just going to put it away, the ones I've already done, so I don't get confused. Okay, let's see. We have penstemon mystica. These are like beautiful flowers. I love them. They have these purple stems and like a creamish white flowers. I thought of growing them last year. I actually bought the seeds last year and never grew them. So what does it say? This says packs barely cover. So it says you can cover the seed. So we will barely cover. Okay. So I'm just going to press it down so there is a little bit of room so that I can sprinkle some extra soil on top. I'm just giving you guys some information and some examples as how different seeds behave. So again, same thing. I'm going to say if this is too many, I don't need so many. The seeds will be very tiny. One of the things is you cannot get too distracted while you're doing this. Otherwise, you're just going to lose. And I'm also in that age where I think I do not need glasses, but I need glasses. One of those things. Okay, I'm putting it about 3 seeds in each of them. It was like kind of 3 seeds. I wouldn't say all of them have 3 seeds. Some of them have 4. I still have plenty. At least there are another 30-40 seeds in here. I know it doesn't look like much, but there are about 30-40 seeds. Again, I can give it to somebody. If these don't come up for any reason, they might not germinate, whatever reason, I can actually try again next year. Because once you buy seed packets, they don't really go bad. Usually they'll say that, sell, buy, whatever. They're supposed to put it for the marketing purposes, and like that's kind of a rule. But I have had I've had seeds for 5-6 years, and I think my beet packet, like the beets I grow, is a seed packet from 4-5 years ago, and I still sow this use the same. Okay, before I forget, let me get some soil. And I will lightly sprinkle on top so I do not make a mess. I have a bin here. Okay. Lightly sprinkle on top, and then I'm just running my fingers and then leaving it there. And so I'm going to do the rest of them. I don't know if I want to keep talking while I get, you guys are going to get probably, I'll just tell you what I'm growing. This is, and then I can just kind of fast forward or whatever that I have to do. This is called pink anemone, which is like these pink flowers. They grow in cooler weather, so they really don't even flower until maybe next year, next to spring, because all the perennials are like that. They probably will only produce a lot of leaves the first year, but the second, third year, they just become bigger and bigger and bigger. This is like more of your time and investment right now, what you're doing. These, I think they should produce in fall. I don't know, vintage, oh yeah, they're supposed to bloom in the fall. So maybe I'll get some flowers this year or not. But then I have seen they're beautiful. Hope the deers don't like them, so I can actually, plant them outside to see. This is another thing I'm growing. It's called obedient plant, which is like a short perennial. It grows about 1 feet high. It has white flowers, which has like spikes, which I like. Hollyhock. This is like a reddish purple one, which is very, very tall plant. I have never grown this before. This is my first year trying to grow hollyhock. Lady's mantle is another green plant, which has like a tiny yellow flowers. I have seen it in many, many places. It's supposed to be very easy to maintain, spreads itself easily. The deers don't eat it. We have a huge deer problem here. If you did not get the gist. So we have to kind of make sure that we are. And then the echinacea are the coneflowers you see, these purple coneflowers everywhere. They're also supposed to be good for teas, and it's a good herb. I don't know which culture considers it as to be an herb or like a medicinal thing. And then the Siberian wallflower. I have grown this before. Again, the seed packet is about 4 years ago, and I have been planting like about 5 to 6 plants every year. This plant is not like a perennial. It only comes for 2 years and then it dies after the 3rd year. So I have had them. Still have wallflowers in my garden, and I wanted more, so I'm growing again. This seed packet is about 4 to 5 years old, and it still works. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do all of them again, making sure I read the seed packet and say whether it needs to be covered, the seeds, or do not like to be covered. And then I'm going to do all of this and show you what happens next. Okay, So it is all done and all labeled. So I have put in hollyhock, violet geraniums, like 2 of them, lemongrass, because I have tried to grow lemongrass and never been sick. Last year I tried to start from seed, not successful, so I'm trying them again. I have wallflower, obedient plant, and I have yellow columbine, anemone, penstemon, and I've got 2 types of echinacea and some lady's mantle. Once this is all planted, as I said, I don't you will displace the seed if you water from top. So I just pour it in this tray, which is catching all the water thoroughly, like, fill it up as much as you can, because there is so much of water to be soaked into all of this. I kind of, put it all the way until the tray is about 3/4 full. And then I'll come back again. If I feel like the top layer of the soil is still dry, I will fill it up back again. And then in about 2 hours, usually this will be full. And then it can be placed on a heat mat. You can, a lot of times you can leave them on the windowsill. You can put it under lights. This one is going under lights, and I will show you that probably in a couple of hours when the water is saturated and I put them in the video you probably see it right after, but that will be the sequence. Thank you for sticking with me. This has been a long video, I know, so hope this is some inspiring. Again, don't get intimidated. Start something very small. Start with one thing. But I just wanted to kind of walk you through what I think about the entire seed process. It's very rewarding, but you do have to remember that they're like babies. You have to take care of them like babies. So the things we covered in this video are, should you buy plants or should you buy seeds? What are the best seeds to buy and what are the best plants to buy? Where should you buy them? All that. And then what is the process I go through to take care of my seedlings? How do I plant my seeds? And stick around as these seedlings will emerge, and I will try to be as truthful as I can with you. If they don't germinate, if they fail, I will share everything with you. Just so you know, I'm still a very beginner gardener, and most of the times, like, my failure rate is about 30%. So 70% of the time I'm successful, 30% of the times I'm failing at something. So I'll share all of that with you.